In this video, we're going to be tying the D-rib golden stone developed by Pennington. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take some round, soft lead wire. I'm going to wrap it around the shank of the hook. We're going to stop about a hook eye, 1 to 2 hook eye lengths away from the eye of the hook. If you happen to find or have lead tape, that actually works a little bit better for this fly. But it's harder to find, and round lead wire will work just fine. It's just a little bit more work. So the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to take our thread, we're going to wrap in front of that lead wire and in back of it as well, and just secure it with some nice tight wraps. And I'll go through it a couple times. I like to use thin thread on this fly. I use UTC 70. If you were using thicker thread, you would be able to get through this step a little faster, but I like the thin thread later in the fly. It just helps not bulk up and build up the fly when you don't want it to. Just have to spend a little more time wrapping through the lead, that's all. You want to make sure to get this lead almost all the way covered up. Then you'll build up a little bit of a ramp or a taper from the bare hook to the lead wire that we just wrapped. Once you feel that you got most of it covered up, take our thread here to the back. And we're going to flatten out all of our lead with some pliers or hemostats, and this will make our wide profile stonefly body. I just kind of do it little at a time. You can see there how I flattened it out. Sometimes you'll have a little piece of extra lead wire there at the end. I usually just get in there with my pliers and just pinch it out. Once you're happy with your nice wide profile, you can wrap through it once more, just to kind of clean everything up. Make sure it doesn't roll too much to one side or the other. Then we can take our thread all the way back to the bend. We're ready to tie in the tail. For the tail, I'm just going to use some tan or gold colored Goose Biots. Either one will work just fine. You can tie these in one at a time or both at the same time. I'm going to tie them in one at a time here. We're going to make it so that it's about half of the length of the shank of the hook, and I like them to slightly angle upward on the fly. So I'll tie them in so that they do have that slight angle. And I like them to also splay away from each other. So I'll tie each one in so that they have that slight splay away from each other. I like to tie them right in on the side of the fly. And you can wrap forward until you get to your wire. There you can get in there and trim them out as close as you can get. Now the next thing we're going to do, so we're going to tie in the body material, which is some D-rib. I'm going to be using the dark golden stone. I'm going to tie this in right along the side of the fly. You want to make sure that you do tie it in on the side and not the top of the fly. So we're looking to build that nice wide profile. I'm going to make sure that's tied down nice and tight, and I kind of stretch it as I tie it in. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to wrap this D-rib so that the round portion of the D-rib faces up. I'm going to stretch it as I tie it. Actually, I forgot one step, got a little ahead of myself here. And you can skip this step if you're tying lighter colored stones, but we're going to take a brown marker and we're just barely going to tap the top of the fly with that marker. I'll just darken up. Most natural stones have dark backs and lighter underbellies. We're going to take that D-rib, almost all the way forward. We're going to stop just a little bit more than halfway. So I'll just keep going here, right about where I stopped with the markers, about the portion we're going to capture that D-rib. Lock it down nice and tight. I can trim it out of there. Now the next step is to tie in some tan scud back. You can also use a yellow scud back if you have it handy. Clear also works just fine. We're going to tie that back right onto that D-rib there. All this is just a little bit more than halfway up the shank of the hook. We're now ready for the first segment in our fly. We're going to have a two-part thorax. All I'm going to do is take some SLF Golden Stone Nymph dubbing. I'm going to wrap it nice and tight around my thread. I'm just going to build up a little bit of a thorax section. I want this to be about half of the size of the section that we just tied in. You don't want to go too far forward. You only want it to be about half the size because we're going to put another equal sized portion just in front of this. The next thing to do is to tie in the legs, and for that I'm going to use some natural partridge feathers, and I'm just going to cut out a little V-notch in the feathers. I'm going to place that V-notch so that the feather barbs stick just past the thorax that we just dubbed in. Then with a nice loose wrap I'll just capture it, then I can tighten down. You can see there we have our legs tied in, and you can trim out the excess. Then I'm going to take my marker once more and just put just a little bit of markings right on top of my dubbing, and I'll pull that tan scud back over the top. I'll slightly stretch it, and I'll wrap forward about a hook eye to 2 hook eye lengths forward, and I'll stop, pull the scud back up, pull it back again, and I'll wrap back over it. That locks it down, and I'll wrap right up into that section that we just tied in. And we're now ready to dub the next thorax section. We'll just repeat the process that we just did on the first one with our SLF Golden Stone Nymph dubbing. I like to just add it just a little at a time on this one. You got to be real careful you don't overdub at this point and get too close to the eye of the hook. It's very easy to do at this step. Just crowd that hook eye. So I just do it a little bit at a time. Dub it nice and tight, gives you a little more control. And to finish it off, I always just add a tiny bit of dubbing to the thread and then jump my thread to in front of the dubbing ball. where I can then take my thread right up to the head, where we are now ready for our next set of legs. Do the same process of trimming out the tip, giving us a little V-notch. These legs I like to be a little bit longer than the set we just tied in. So I'll pinch those into place. And I'll actually take the feather, pull down tight with my thread, and I'll break them out of there. This one's not cooperating. Let's try this again here. Might have made that one just a little too full. There we go. Sometimes you get just a few fuzzies. Usually that little trick will get it to break off fairly clean. And what I'll do is take my marker and again just lightly color up the top of the fly, pull my scud back forward, I'll slightly stretch it, capture everything, do a couple wraps forward, then I'll take the scud back and I'll wrap back up onto it. Where I can then whip finish. And to trim the scud back, I'll just take it, draw it up, pull it tight, give it a trim, and it'll suck right back down into itself. If you have any straggly fibers, you can pull those out of there. Then the last step, I usually just darken up the head. And that is the D-rib golden stone. Very lifelike pattern, not too hard to tie, at least for being a lifelike stonefly, and nice and heavy because we used all that lead for the underbody. But great fly, fishes very well in our freestone rivers out here in Colorado. And you can find all the materials to tie this fly on our website, as well as the recipe information at intheriffle.com.